Hello, I'm Average Joe. Welcome back to the new workshop. Isn't that ticking getting annoying? Tick. 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 Jesus. Okay. So, let me just get into it right away. I've done quite a bit of work between episodes, mostly just lighting things up with lanterns because I've had mobs spawning and this looks really cool. Anyways, battery power is slowly getting higher. We're starting to fill the sixth cell. Okay. So yeah. What have I done? Yes. I've done an update to the battery room's wiring. It will no longer drain the battery when it's full, because that was a thing it was going to do. It won't do that anymore because it was going to do that. I saw it in the wiring, so I fixed that. We made the elevator and we hooked it up to the door power line. It goes up, down, and has a call button on each floor. It's not completely done yet, but I can give a little demonstration by turning on the door system. So it's not completely done yet because the control room, the main control room, is going to be a third floor. Right now we only go up the second floor, which I've actually fleshed out, as you can see. No rooms yet, so yeah. Now if we go up one more, I can show you how this elevator is made. So this is basically just one big flying machine. This one, powering this observer will make it go up, powering this observer will make it go down. And there's a lot going on here, as you can probably tell. Ignoring the purple, except for these little bits here, the green button just goes down, around, and powers the bottom one. The red button just powers the top one. And they both have a redstone line here going into this pulse extender, which will pull these pistons back, which have just a block that sticks to slime blocks, and that's in between two obsidian. So when the elevator gets to a point, if it has these between obsidian, the two modules for the elevator won't be able to move. Now there is also this little light blue circuit here, and that's just to make sure the door is only open when the elevator is at that floor. See, the observer will detect when that corner is on its area, or enters its area, giving a pulse, making this piston push out its block, powering the door, keeping the door open. And I can just demonstrate that by making it go down. See? Now, the call buttons are probably the most spaghettified redstone here. All they really do is when you press the button, it simulates pressing either the red button or the green button, because it's hooked up to the red circuit and the piston circuit here, just to make sure that it acts as if you're pressing the red button. So if I press the red button here, you can see it pulls those back, it powers that, and then it just starts going down, and after a while the pistons come out again. If we push the call button on this level, then it powers this green one pulls pistons back by sending power to here, and starts sending the elevator up. Now to hook this up into the main power line, I used the door system, because that's got to go upstairs anyways. But when there is no power to the door system, then these pistons will pull up, and the signal for the call buttons and the signal for the red and the green buttons will not activate this pulse extender, making sure that these pistons stay extended, meaning that the elevator can't go anywhere. Now, that's not the button I wanted to press. So the brig room had a bunch of lights everywhere. I kind of cleaned that up. Everything works fairly well. I took out the lights in the brigs and replaced them with the lanterns. And now this lever just opens all the cells. Of course, that's not working right now because there is no power to the brig room. But if I go below, you can see that I've actually lowered the redstone by a block. And that's just so that I could fit the lights in however I wanted, rather than having to work around the redstone. Also, so I can actually stand on the thing. Make it a bit easier to traverse if I was in survival mode. Not that this is something you want to do in survival mode. Was that lava? Oh, right. Right, that must be where the engine is. And speaking of the engine, we're gonna need to make some changes. Massive changes. So, as y'all know, the engine has a small battery inside of it, which is drained by this little clock here. Now, this clock drains the battery at a steady rate, no matter how many systems are on. I want to set it up so that it drains the battery slower, faster or slower depending on how many systems are on. Now, I can't do that with this much space, so this clock is going to have to be taken out. In fact, all of the black line is going to have to be taken out as well. So, not to mention we're going to have to redo a lot of the battery stuff, because I found a solution to make the battery drain faster or slower depending on how many systems are on. And it's up in here. Behold, this monstrosity. So, this is basically just a really big hopper chain with comparators at even intervals. So every time the item on the inside, which right now is just some red wool, goes to that hopper, it'll give out a pulse. So it'll click faster or slower depending on how many systems are on, being represented by these levers being the systems. So you can see that those will light up, but there is no pulse going out because they aren't powering the block. Now, this means that every single system needs to go to the room and then back to this, and then this needs to go to the engine. Now the main issue here is that I have absolutely no idea where to fit this, because this thing is so massive and there's so many wires just in the first little area here. I don't know where to put that. Not to mention we're already having problems getting the wires out to the rooms they need in the first place. So, and this system does need to be extendable because we will be adding more systems every now and then, meaning it's going to have to extend out in one direction. So, yeah. Not sure where everything is going to fit, but I suppose, first things first, let's rip out the black lines. Okay, so I think I found a place that definitely has enough room. The only problem is it is directly underneath the shuttle bay, which is not ideal. See, the shuttles in here are only able to, I want to only be able to be launched when the door is opened, which means we're going to need to have a line from the yellow going to the shuttles, so having something in here isn't ideal, but we might have to go with it. I'd rather not, though. I could put it up here, but then that'd be taking away space for other systems that would be up here otherwise, like the door system for each of the rooms and that. I don't want to go too far out in one direction, and I don't want to go too far down, because I kind of decided that where this green line is the one below that is where the bottom of the ship is going to be. So this is kind of a tricky situation. I did pull out most of the black line. I kept them where they are, though, just so that I know which line needs to go to what place, or where the extraction point for the stuff is. Words, I'm not good at using them. And the shuttle bay door is going to be a trick too, because that would just send a pulse to the clock directly. So that one's going to be something to figure out as well. I think the main thing is, if we build this low enough, we might not have to worry about the yellow line. Well, I decided to just put the whole thing together here. We've got 14 inputs rather than 7, just because that way I don't have to add more later on until I go through 7 more systems. But we do have it reaching at just this level, which means we're going to have to feed all of the black lines into, well, this side first, and then maybe this side. But then they're going to have to be like really low down as well, so yes, as I said, this is going to be a trick. What we can do is, instead of having the line input be up there, we can have it be like here. So, so that if I can just bring this around. So that the redstone will just point into the piston and push it like that, rather than like on the top, making less room there. And to help with the shuttles, we can pull a signal from, say, here, and just run it along and go along here, because there's not supposed to be any shuttles in the middle here. so we can use that to our advantage. So I suppose the first thing we should do is take this and start pointing it into that. Or probably take this because it's the closest one there. Yeah, let's do this one first. There. So that is one of them done. And that's the shulker box loader. Okay. How did you get in here? You shouldn't be spawning anywhere. Everything is lit up. Everything. Right. Sorry. Where was I? Alright, so that's the door system getting plugged into that. What next? Well, let me see here. Ooh, the pump system. Okay, so the pump should be hooked up now. Next, this is kind of starting to remind me of like a spark plug or something. Or like that box with all the spark plugs. Like, these are the spark plugs and whatnot. That's stupid. A spark plug doesn't work like that. Or at least, I don't think it does. There we go. So no power needs to be taken from the elevator because that's hooked up to the doors. And the doors are really annoying, so don't want to mess with those too much. So the only thing left to hook up is this one, which is the battery, which we're actually going to leave on for right now. I think what we want to do next is fill this up, but it doesn't wear out quickly. What we want to do next is tear out the battery, or the battery drainer, in here. I'm going to tell the battery to stop charging while we do this, because I want to fill that more or less legit. So there needs to be, no matter what, a signal into this block, or a pulse into that block, if the battery is being drained. Which means... what does that mean, actually? Which means this is going to start getting tricky. You can probably take out this line. from the gray power. And this should probably go as well. Which means we can take and directly power this little one and hook that up really quick. Right, so that's the battery hooked up then, which means the only thing left to do is to hook up what is essentially a fuse box into the battery, draining the battery. Which means this is going to need well, this is just going to be a trick, isn't it? Well, that certainly makes the battery drain faster. Should probably make those non-usable systems. There. Now it just won't give a signal at all. Whoops, forgot to... Oh yeah, and we still gotta hook that up to the door, don't we? Okay, so the battery drains and will send a signal to there, but now we need to make it so that we can switch between the battery being drained and the engine being drained. Which means... what does that mean exactly? I think it means we have to send a pulse into this. Which means we're going to have to rewire all of this. Whew boy, fun. Okay, pretty simple, kind of. The redstone pulses that come from this thing get sent along here all the way up to this switch. When this, which is controlled by the pink line right here, which is the switch, the battery power switch. When the switch to battery power is off, it sends a signal to here, extending this piston, making this pulses go through this block to this line, all the way up, and start pulsing into this. When this switch is down or on, then this signal shuts off, pulling this piston back, which I can probably just kind of simulate here, making the signal go through this block in this position, going to this. This block is just here to prevent the line from getting crossed. Goes all the way through here and sends the pulses into this, draining this instead of the reactor's battery. Now, the battery will still only drain, will only charge, I should say, if it's not being used for power. And yeah. So that's a lot of new wool put down and a lot of new hookups. A lot of new connections and things. So I suppose the only thing left to do is to hook up the bay door into the system. Okay, so the last thing we had to do was to hook up the shuttle bay door to the battery drainer. So what I did was I just took the button signal from there and I put it into two really long pulse extenders. Probably could have just done like a hopper clock or something, but whatever. And that made it so that this will always be down and will go through the cycle at least once. Sometimes twice. Maybe always twice. But at least once. So that's the entire power system completely reworked. It certainly took a lot of time, I'll tell you what. But yeah, whew. That's done, I guess. Suppose the only thing left is to see how well the battery holds up and charge the battery. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. The engine's working right, everything, all the systems are running well. I guess in the next episode we can keep working on rooms. Although those are gonna start getting really complicated the more systems we have. 'Cause we gotta keep running lines down to the... whatever the heck I'm gonna start calling that. Yeesh. But we have 7 more spots to fill. And 8 rooms. So, not to mention the thing upstairs. So this is definitely going to have to get even longer. Can't imagine that. Dang. Well, I guess that's it. I'll take this down and we can start building whatever we're going to build here next time. Y'all have a good day. Take care of yourselves. Bye.